Now the guitar is singing, it's ready to go. It's the show right here on Shaw, episode number 167, season 9, episode 6. Thank you so much for joining us. Musical guest this week, over my shoulder, Tami Nutting, a local performer, actually originally from Vancouver, but calling Nanaimo home for more than 2 decades now, has frequently given back by performing a lot of fundraisers, and we're very happy to have her here today. You might say we're going to make much ado about nutting. Much ado about nutting. Anyways, you're going to hear some of her songs and also have a chat with Vanessa later on in the show. Also on today's show, we're going to do a focus on a number of individuals and groups doing excellent community support work. So if you're thinking about changing the channel, stop in the name of Loaves. Stop in the name of Loaves. We're going to get an update on the supremely important work being done by Nanaimo, Loaves, and Fish's Community Food Bank, as well as how you can help with an upcoming fundraiser. Now, as the weather starts to get better around here, the phrase, take a hike, turns from an insult to actually a pretty healthy idea. We're going to find out about Hike for Hospice, a spring fundraiser for the Nanaimo Community Hospice. It's looking for folks like you to sign up, as well as some other initiatives going on as well. But to kick off the show, you can Brant if you want to. You can leave penguins behind, because if your friends don't Brant, and if they don't Brant, well, they're no friends of mine. So instead, let's be friends. Don't duck away. I'll promise Toucan hang out with us, so crane your neck toward the screen for this episode of the show right here on Shaw.
What are we going to do with you, dude? I have to say, every opening gets better, but my gosh, those puns, they just keep a-coming and a-coming. Today with us on the set, I'm so excited. A returning guest with us is Kerilie McDowall, and she is one of the birds in flight with the Brant Festival. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what the Brant Festival is and what it means to our community.
Sure. The Brant Festival is a spring celebration of nature. It is amazing. Yeah. The namesake for it is the Brant goose, which is a sea goose that travels from Mexico to Alaska. Wow. And so in the Parksville-Qualicum area, we have what's called the PQWMA, Parksville-Qualicum Wildlife Management Area. Yeah. So people get in trouble if they have their dogs there because these poor little birdies have got to feed up and get fat before they carry on their journey.
And so does that mean they're going back to Mexico, or are they going
They're heading from Mexico up to Alaska.
Up to Alaska?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. They're beautiful birds. Yeah. They're absolutely incredible. And the amount of people that are hanging out on the beaches, is it actually at Raft Trevor Beach where it starts, or where does the actual festival start?
Oh, that's such a good question. It starts down Parksville area, goes... Oh, sorry, where does the festival start? Or
well, where does the actual when the birds are landing, are they actually landing at Raft Trevor or just all through
Yeah, throughout, from Raft Trevor all the way up to Qualicum.
Wow,
yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. Well, you have a number of pictures to share with us, and yes. I think we should start looking at some of these because they're absolutely amazing. Let's bring the first one up.
Sure.
And it's coming, there it is. There's a Brant. Now, I have to tell you, I did not know what a Brant bird was until the last time you appeared. I thought all geese were geese.
No, well, it's a goose, but definitely it's a goose, but it's not to be confused with the
Canada goose.
Yeah, that's going to mess up your lawn. These ones, they just travel the ocean.
They just travel the ocean. Yep. And are they smaller than a Canada goose?
They are smaller, and they make a noise that's slightly different. It's like, I can't really replicate it properly, but it's like a cronk, cronk, and...
so they are honking.
It kind of, they're cackling.
Up in the sky there on that photograph, there's like hundreds of them, right? Are they, do they fly in formation the same way regular geese do, or do you know?
That I don't know, but we have an expert coming to Parksville. His name is Sean Boyd. And
is this Sean now?
That's him.
There we go.
And he is, Good Nature Trust is bringing him in, and almost any question you could possibly have about the Brant goose, you can ask him. We're in our 30th year of the festival, and he's been with it since the beginning studying the Brant.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that actually come out to count these birds and to follow their path along the way.
There are, and on our Facebook page, we regularly post the details, how many have been seen, where they were located, and that kind of thing.
Wow.
The image that is on the screen now is actually, I believe it's in the French Creek area, not positive. But what happens is we have over 100 volunteers, and they give you tours, they teach you things, so that when your guests come to visit and you take them somewhere, you sound extra smart.
Well, and it's so impressive, actually, because all of these birds, when they're coming together, you know, they don't know they're going to have such an incredible audience as their guests that are traveling in from all over. And so it's really fun to be able to share this with the community. And so many people get involved at the various events on various days, right?
Yes.
You've got like things happening on the 21st and the 22nd, like almost every day. How long is the festival in total?
So,
Before we do that, sorry, I just noticed the picture of the little fishy up there. Do they eat those little fishies? Is that the deal?
To be honest, that was taken on one of the tours when they were testing the health of, I believe, the Englishman River estuary. And so they were collecting and measuring. And
to make sure that it was okay.
Yeah.
So along with that, there's also the Hamilton, marsh, which is stunning.
Oh no, this is where you get me talking for a bit.
Okay.
That is my pet project. I've been the community leader for 15 years for that. And it's the largest wetland between Nanaimo, Port Alberni, and Cumberland. Largest, most prolific waterfowl brood marsh. And we get to, it's owned by Mosaic, and we get to hold a tour once a year during the Brant Wildlife Festival. And it is the final event.
And then the final event, which is held on the 19th of April.
That's right.
Yes.
And it's worth going down because you find out so much about the interconnectedness and bugs, how important they are to our ecosystem. I mean, it's amazing. I know,
it's a yuck, but it's true. Bugs are important. We need to have
the birds
them.
and so on and so forth, and up the chain. And they feed the fish, and the fish feed the bears. You know.
Well, it's the whole big cycle. That giant eagle there impresses me so much. Look at that. And what does that eagle signify?
So that's from the North Island Wildlife Recovery. They host an eagle release every year, and the eagle is one that's been rehabilitated. It's landed there for some reason, and it's now ready to go. And there's usually ceremony around it and a special guest releasing it. And
incredible!
It's very popular.
Oh my gosh! I love the expansion. Yeah. And next up, through that, is a new thing that you're doing this year, which is the Weddings for Wildlife. And so let's talk about that for a bit.
You're hitting on another one of my faves, and I might be at this for a little while. So a while back, some of us were thinking how we would like to give back to nature, because we're nature buffs, right?
Of course.
And so I came up with the idea of Weddings for Wildlife. So we have 5 couples for a $400 donation to the Nature Trust of British Columbia. They get a tax receipt. They get legally wed by yours truly in an outdoor venue. Taryn Picard of Innocent Thunder takes photography, beautiful photos, and then they sashay on down to the Shady Rest for a bevy and dessert.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful time. I love weddings at best, but to be married by a celebrant right on, in nature, I got goose pimples all over the place. That's wonderful.
We did our first last year, and it was really successful. And when I posted it up again on our Brant Facebook page, one of the ladies said, "Oh, we loved it. Best thing we ever did."
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's amazing to be able to do something like that, for sure.
I agree. And in this case, it's a BYOB, which means bouquet or boutonniere, just to be clear.
Bouquet or boutonniere. And a bottle doesn't hurt either. So as long as it's staying away from the birds, then we're good.
You gotta behave.
Then,
but I know. Save the bottle for later.
Thank you so much for being with us. At the bottom of the screen, there'll be some information on how to reach out to the Brant Festival, but we're super, super excited that you came. Thanks so much for being with us.
You're welcome.
Next up, we get to share the Brant brand with another kind of Brant festival, which has got to do with wood carving, and Jane Vinet is going to share all about it with you in just a second.
Thank you so much for that, Cathy. Yes, the show is gone to the birds tonight. Next up, we're here to talk about the Pacific Brant Carving, Woodworking, and Art Show. And my guest today is Barry Saunders. And now we're going to get Just Ducky, because he owns Just Ducky Carvings. So welcome, Barry. You've brought us a beautiful assortment of your carvings here today. Let's get started with this right away, and you can tell us a little bit about these carvings.
Well, this is a Blandings turtle. It's a miniature. I carved it as a miniature. The actual turtle is probably about a foot long, and they occur in eastern Canada. They have a very bright yellow throat, I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of hidden with the log. But it's very nice little reptile, and they're found in marshes in the east. I first encountered one of these in southern Ontario near Lake Erie.
Okay. Well, I mean, I wanted to start with the reptile because I felt they needed to get their due since everything else was about the birds. So
Yeah, some of them are bad members,
now,
yeah.
how did you get started doing wildlife carving?
Well, kind of a long story, but I'll keep it short.
Okay.
I've always been interested in the outdoors, and I went to college and became a wildlife biologist, both in Ontario and British Columbia. And so, the outdoor life appealed to me, including birds. I decided I wanted to carve a duck one time and to go hunting with some decoys. I've never really completed that task, but I took up carving and I got hooked on it, so here I am.
Okay. This is absolutely spectacular. Look how tiny this is. Now, what is this one?
This one is a least bittern. It's in the heron and bittern family, and again, it's a miniature. The actual life size is about a foot tall or 13 inches tall, and they're found in marshes throughout Canada, especially in the eastern part of Canada.
Now, is something like this easier or more difficult to carve?
The smaller it is, the harder it is, because if you make a little mistake, it's a small bird, it's a big mistake. So usually the kind of things we carve like that end up as firewood. If we make a mistake, then we have to start again.
I think you should just put them on sale. Don't burn them. This is absolutely beautiful. Tell me about this.
This is a Dunlin, and this year in part of the competition of the Brant, in the carving competition, there's 3 birds that are up for Telegraph Cove Awards, and this species is one of them. And that's a life-size shorebird called a Dunlin, and it's going to be entered this year. I have no idea how I'm going to do, but if the judges aren't watching, I'll get an honest opinion. So.
So actually, that's some great information for our viewers. So the event, which takes place at the Parksville Community Center, April 4th and 5th, this is a consortium, right? It represents the Oceanside Carvers, the DeCosmos Fine Arts Society, and then you folks from the Mid-Island Woodworkers Guild, right?
Yes, that's right. And in addition to that, there's a lot of carvers from northwestern U.S. and BC.
Okay. And so the purpose of the festival, I mean, even though we know it pairs up beautifully with the Brant Festival, Wildlife Festival, is to promote the awareness of wildlife and wildlife habitat and the importance of the migration of the Brant.
Right on.
Now, this isn't all just for fun.
No.
This is for
Make money too, sometimes, yes.
So there's going to be some great prizes, right, available,
That's right.
and people can enter on the Brant.ca website. And what kind of, can you tell me a little bit about the competition?
Well, the competition itself is divided into different skill levels: youth, novice, intermediate, advanced, and expert. And we have people entering in all those levels. And there's judged by world expert type carvers, generally 4 or 5 teams, and the recorders. And everything's unmarked in terms of the judges' knowledge. It just has a number.
Right. And there'll be 120 exhibitors at this event and over 300 entries into
About
the competition.
that, yes. That's where it's been the last 2 years. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And some of them are world-class carvers that are entering too in the competition.
Yeah. One of the things I was intrigued by is the fact that every year you have a different challenge. And this year, the challenge is
A feather.
just a simple feather.
Just make a feather out of wood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And as Cece mentioned earlier, it's the 30th year of the festival.
That's right.
Okay. And it's not just carvings, though. When we go, we'll get to see other things that are being made as well, right?
You may see fish, you may see all sorts of woodworking, musical instruments, and of course birds.
Right.
A lot of birds.
And furniture. And,
Indeed, yes.
But the other thing we mentioned just briefly is that there's also an art expo.
Yes, there is. There's a group, Cosmos Art Group, that'll be there in a separate room there, but it's all part of the show.
Okay, so you'll be able to find watercolors, acrylics, paintings, photography.
Whatever turns the crank.
Right,
Exactly.
but everything is nature
You
themed,
bet.
right? And all of this for just $5. Yeah.
There you
wow.
go.
Well, it sounds like an absolutely wonderful way to spend the day. And I'm sorry, I think we'll have time to wrap up. If you want to just very quickly tell me about this guy.
Yeah, I brought one that isn't finished. It's in the progress of being finished. It's a northern loon. And this side is, as you can see, doesn't have the speckles. So, and it's going to be on a nest when it's finished, and it's for a customer.
Well, these are just ducky. Thank you so much for bringing
Thank you
these in
very
and
much.
sharing them with us. And now, because it's still all about the birds, let's throw things over to Tami Nutting, and who's going to perform Phoenix.
I've got my family around me. I've got their love to surround me. And I've got 2 feet around me. Oh, my world spins all around me. Let it roll on down the highway. Let that freedom fly. Keep on going, do it your way. Yeah. Let that phoenix rise. It was a long, long, long time ago since I felt that feeling, so I plant my seed and I watch it grow, and where it stops nobody knows. Let it roll on down the highway. Let that freedom fly. Keep on going, do it your way, yeah. Let that phoenix rise. Here we go. Let it roll on down the highway. Let that freedom fly. Keep on going, do it your way, yeah. Let that phoenix rise. 2, 3, 4. Let it roll on down the highway. Let that freedom fly. Keep on going, do it your way, yeah. Let that phoenix rise. Thank you.
And thanks so much for joining us on the show. I'm really excited about my next guest. You know, the community always steps up and helps organizations in need. And my next guest, Abby Sawchuk, is from the Nanaimo Loaves and Fishes Food Bank. Welcome, Abby.
Thanks for helping me overcome my fear of the camera.
Well, you're doing great. And I just wanted to welcome you because you have a very important fundraising initiative that you're in the process of getting going. Mm-hmm. But before we talk about that, let's just talk about what the Nanaimo Food Bank does for the local Nanaimo region and the island community.
Well, essentially what we're doing is providing food free of charge to anyone in need. We have a nobody turned away policy 6 days a week throughout Nanaimo and area, and we have 10 depots spread throughout the city, open at different times of the day and different days of the week so that we can be accessible as possible to people who are struggling and in need of food. We also provide food free of charge to over 80 other local nonprofits and schools who are welcome to come and shop at our warehouse for free to help offset any costs of food for their programs that they're running. And we also work as a hub for the main food bank of Food Banks BC, in that we help store and distribute the food that's getting spread out to other food banks across Vancouver Island as well.
Wow. So, and you're also helping children in schools as well, right?
We do. We supply food to school charities to help them out with that. The foundations that are serving the schools, we supply food for them.
Yeah.
And we have 2 unofficial depots running in a high school to help students there who are fed through the school and need food to take home with them as well.
Such an essential, important service.
It is. Yeah.
Now, so there's a really important fundraising drive coming up. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that because it's pretty important and will really help the whole island community if the community gets behind it and provides donations and supports it. So let's talk about that.
Well, essentially, we need a new warehouse, and we need a much larger warehouse. We're at the point now where we have grown out of our space. We're trying to meet the needs of the community, but we're also trying to meet the needs of the other nonprofits we serve. And in order to do that, we need to be able to efficiently source and distribute food in our own supply chain. And right now, our warehouse is too small, and we have grown out of it. We're serving Port Hardy now. We've just recently opened a depot up there, and we've called it Food for All Hunger Relief. And we're up there twice a month, delivering 2,000 pounds of food each time.
Wow.
To that community. And we're also, right now, we've got about 8,000 pounds of food a day coming through our warehouse.
Okay.
And in order to grow with the needs around us, we need to have the space to put in the infrastructure and the equipment required to be able to continue to source and distribute the amount of food we do.
Yeah, and I guess part of the problem is getting the food out there, right? And that's why getting some equipment to speed up the process so that you can mechanize some of the process so that you can get the food out to the community. And this is part of the reason why you're wanting this warehouse, right?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we have around 600 wonderful volunteers per month.
Wow.
Rotating through our warehouse, helping us sort this food.
Fantastic.
We would love to make that process more efficient and a lot easier for them by having the space and the equipment to make it happen. And if you look, there was a graph up there where you can see each time, in this case it was the governments that have helped us out. We have had help, we're seeking more help from the provincial, municipal, and the RDN. We're seeking any support we can get, because if you look on the graph, with each influx of funding towards infrastructure, you can see it has automatically translated into more food sourced and distributed out to the community.
And that's a lot of food. It's what's the figure? $1 million or?
Well, in 2019, it was $4.6 million worth of food went out to the community, and over $1 million of that went free of charge to other nonprofits and schools in our community so that they could divert what they were spending on food into the programs they use.
I want to congratulate your organization on doing such an amazing job. That is phenomenal. And you're just looking to improve, which is just so important for the community. And I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
And I just hope that the community will get behind you and donate. And of course, people can donate by e-transfer.
The easiest way is online off our website.
Okay, off your website.
We've made it. We've simplified and streamlined that process.
Right.
You can also come to our 210 Fry Street warehouse.
Where is that?
It's down on Fry Street by the harbor on the waterfront. Yeah. Wonderful. Right now, that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
But with the hope of the support of the community and the government, we're really hoping to be able to grow into the size of warehouse that we need to keep growing with the need in the community.
Wonderful. Yeah. And we should say that the food bank is open both during the day and the evening for people in the community that think that they might need to use your service. There's varying hours throughout the day.
There's varying hours, and the depots are running 6 days a week.
Okay.
Again, on the website you can see the locations and the times we're open.
Wonderful.
Accessibility is so important, and we really try to make that happen for people.
Oh, well, thank you. Now, are you looking for volunteers or anything else? Are you looking for further volunteers for the organization?
Yes, we're always welcoming volunteers.
Okay.
They are the backbone of the organization.
Yeah.
We also, during this time of year, non-perishable food donations drop significantly, and people are still hungry. So
donate, right?
Yes, please give us. We need non-perishables, and financial donations are a really important part of what keeps us running.
Okay.
It costs about $45,000 a month to serve the community at the level we do, and we need to be able to keep that number
Okay, we got to wrap up, unfortunately. Really sorry to interject there, but thanks so much for joining us, Abby. You are providing such an important service. Congrats to you and your organization, all the volunteers and staff, and keep going and doing such an amazing job and putting out the appeal to the community to get behind this organization and support it. We're going to throw it over next to Cathy Holmes, who's going to talk about taking you for a hike.
Thanks, Kerilie. You know, everything that we do in community is circles around family, and in one level or another, we all come together for a lot of different reasons. And my guests today are some of the most important areas of, I don't know, when we're coming to the end of life, we need these people on our side. And from personal experience, I know the real benefit of hospice. Today with us is Paul Sibley, the Executive Director from Hospice Community. And I'm calling it Community Hospice. I'm used to just calling you Hospice. There we go. And also Katie Brockman, who is responsible for the Children's Grief Program, which is very exciting. So we've got lots to talk about today. But before we do that, Paul, you and I have a common thing going on. And I just got back from seeing my amazing grandson in Fort Mac, and you were telling me about your grandkid.
Yes, yeah.
Yahoo!
So I went on a trip recently to my brother's daughter. My niece got married, and I took my grandson. He's 7 years old. So we went to Toronto, right? We went on a trip, and we stayed at the Fairmont Hotel, and we're there, and so he came up to me, and he said, you know, we spent a lot of time together, you know. He came up to me and he just had those wide eyes, right?
Yes.
He looked me directly in the face. He said, he calls me Papa, which melts me all the time.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
He said, Papa, now I'm 64 years old, he's 7. He said, Papa, you're going to die one day, right?
Oh my.
And I said, yes. And he said, but not tomorrow, right? And I said, no, not tomorrow. So, but the reason I tell that story, it's on kids' minds.
It is.
And
Very
some
much
kids
so.
have to deal with it, right? That happens in their lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens like in a natural way, and sometimes it happens in a crazy, traumatic way and stuff like that. And Katie, who's my colleague here, who's a young, amazing counselor, works with kids, and she deals with those situations that where kids have had to say goodbye to the people they love in their lives, right? Yeah. And that's what we do. Most people think that it's about old people dying, and it is about that a little bit.
Sure, for
but
sure.
sometimes it's about kids saying goodbye to the people they love. So, you know, I brought Katie here, and
we're so glad that you brought Katie,
Yeah.
because honestly, it is a difficult conversation for so many people. And you know, I look at my kids and my family, and I think to myself, that conversation may happen. It happens all the time. Tell us about your programming and how you relate to these incredible children.
I guess I'll start with the fact that the youngest that we do work with is 2.5 years old.
Oh my.
The oldest for our child and youth program is 18 or 19 years old.
There's a huge range in there,
Yeah.
and a huge comprehension level for young children to have to deal with such an important subject as death.
Yeah.
And so how do you find the engagement process? Are you doing it with coloring? Are you doing it through is there a way that you can engage the children at different levels so that they can speak their truth?
Well, you raised a good point, Cathy. I think it's important to recognize that all children have different developmental ages and stages.
Yes.
And with that being said, we need different mediums to be able to meet them where they're at. So, of course, if you could close your eyes and imagine what my office is, it's basically Toys R Us unboxed.
Yay!
There's all different play
Yay!
methods that you can utilize. There's painting, there's clay, there's sand trays, books, teddy bears, puppets, whatever the kids want to do, I'm on the floor with them doing it, which is really great. And then there's also the teen piece where sometimes they just want to talk and they need someone that they can bounce ideas off of and really feel like someone gets them, even if I don't fully understand their circumstance, right?
But there's a level of being heard that comes with, you know, sitting with someone where they are in the moment that they're in it, and allowing it to unfold so organically that they feel heard and supported. Another way that I know that you've been doing this too is the brand new bus that you have, which is like freaking fabulous, right?
Yes.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's 33 feet. It scares the living daylights out of me.
It's a giant camper, though.
It is,
Like, it's
yeah.
massive.
And it's furnished to replicate exactly what our playroom is at Hospice, which is a really beautiful thing because it eliminates those barriers that children and families might have for transportation, so we can go to them.
I love that there's a couple of different ways that people can connect. And just out of curiosity, I don't know this, I mean, from background or whatever, but do you also go into the family home at times and support there, or is it more people are coming in with you into the Hospice Community Resource Center?
Yeah.
Is that how it's done, Paul? Or?
Well, yeah, let me answer that. So we do outreach. We have a memorandum of understanding with the school district. So we go into the schools, right?
Okay.
And so that's with the Ladysmith, Nanaimo Ladysmith School District. So we have memorandum. So we go into all the schools. It would be unusual for us to go into a home, but we might. I mean, we don't rule anything out, you know. But yeah, we
work with the community.
We work with the community, and that's. But I just want to say something about what Katie does expertly, right? So a child who has experienced the loss of a parent, and sometimes it's tragic.
Yes.
It's because we're involved. If you think of any situation that's happened in this community, we're probably involved in it, right?
Yes.
So a child might have found their parent deceased in their home. And if that child is 3 or 4 or 5, they don't know how to talk about it. You and I could talk about that, but they can't talk about it. So Katie is an expert in terms of how to guide them. So what kids do in play is they play with around what's current in their lives, and she guides them in the play. And what will happen is that what's current in their mind comes up, and she guides them through that process, and she helps them work through that, right? And that's what happens, and that's what we do.
And you guys
it's
do
amazing.
it so expertly well. And Katie, I'm so glad that you do that for us. They're wrapping me up, and I don't want to because there's so much more I want to share.
That's okay.
Part of this, though, is the Hospice Hike Walk. The poster is coming up if it's not up already.
Yes.
We need to make sure that people are getting into teams and raising money.
Hike for Hospice.
Hike for Hospice.
Yes.
I'm going. I'm on team.
Yeah.
Like, let's roll.
June 13th.
Westwood Lake.
Westwood Lake.
Everybody show up.
Everybody's got to show up.
Have to.
It's been a treat. It's always a pleasure to be with you both. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, yeah.
Vanessa is up next, and she's going to talk some tunage. And we need some tunes because even though there's some heavy subjects, it all goes a little bit easier with a great song and a good friend.
All right, thanks for that, Cathy. We do need some good tunage, and I'm proud to say that we have an amazing musician here in the studio tonight, Tami Nutting, a girl and her guitar. Tami's done a lot of different things, as Matt was saying earlier, in the community, different pride events and all of the fun stuff. But one of my burning questions is, when did you find your way to this guitar?
Oh my goodness, that is a very good question. I don't think I found my way to music as much as music was pretty much me. Everybody, if you remember the old Sears catalogs, you know, we were all like, I'm kind of dating myself now. You know, and you got it and everybody flip up and, oh, I want the G.I. Joe, or I want the Tonka, or I want the Barbie doll, or whatever. Not this girl. I was like, I want the guitar, I want the drum kit. I think before I got like the Tonka, I got the drum kit, right? So I couldn't say, it was music that found me first. So I always wanted to do music, always did music. That's who I am.
That's excellent. So you put down the drums, picked up the guitar.
Yes.
Where would you say you draw most of your inspiration from?
Oh, inspiration comes from so many points. Mostly from friends, family, events that happen in my day. Like, for example, that first song I performed, The Phoenix. I performed at a Pride event 2 years ago. And if you listen to the words in that, that's exactly what happened that day. My family around me, they're there to support me no matter what I do. And, you know, you watch people in that community, and so many of them, they have to tear it down, burn that Phoenix right up. And that's where my inspirations come from, is people around me. Maybe even a song out of today.
Maybe even the song out of today, everybody. So you mentioned community, and this is one of the main reasons that I really wanted to have you on the show, is because I'm really driven by other community-minded individuals, like myself. You'd work on different community events, and there's something really neat coming up that's happened a couple of times before in Nanaimo that you're a bit instrumental in planning, if I'm not mistaken, and that's the
Oh, the Trans Day of Visibility?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's an amazing event. That comes up every year, and it's all because Transgender Day of Visibility, right? We got to be visible. We've come a long way. There's so much work that's been done, but there's so much that has to be done. We got to get out there and let people know that we're here, and we're just people like you and I, and be visible, be loud, proud, and get the message out there. And it grows every year. It's at Maffeo Sutton Park again this year. March 29th, 11 o'clock, we start gathering there. And please, come on down, bring your dog, bring your friends, bring your allies, and we'll show the world what a girl and a guitar and a few hundred friends can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I quite love that. All right, so we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to ask you one more question. It might be a little bit of a silly question, but I think it's kind of an important one. If you could open for any musician or musical act in the world, who would it be?
Oh, well, I would open for Queen in
I
Wembley
like
Stadium.
that. There you go.
I want the same 15 minutes that Freddie had.
Tami Nutting deserves the same 15 minutes that Freddie had, if I say so myself.
If you're going to dream, dream big, right?
That's right.
Main Street and Starry Night, hanging out by the firelight, making love by dawn's daylight. How can this be wrong? Having you right by my side, hearts pounding, my eyes are wide. Both knew it deep inside. How can this be wrong? You had me at hello. Now the world is my witness. I'm never letting go. I've been searching all my life for something that feels so right. You can take me anywhere, and I'll go with you everywhere. And I'll do anything, I don't care. How can this be wrong? You had me at hello. Now the world is my witness. I'm never letting go. I've been searching all my life for something that feels so right. You had me at hello. Now the world is my witness. I'm never letting go. And I'll get down on my knees, and I'll be begging you, baby, please. You had me at hello.
Time for this NBA fan here to wrap up the show. I know the show's over, but we don't want you to cry because that would be a double dribble. If you know, cry, double dribble. Anyways, and also with that, now I know a couple shows ago I mentioned a lot of NHL teams in my rap, so of course, again, being a big NBA fan, I wanted to translate and talk that about our amazing volunteers we have here on the program. Our volunteers are warriors. The show spurs all of us on to be trailblazers. We rockets into this program with a cavalier's attitude and the intensity of a hornet's nest. Now our interviews don't tend to feature a grizzly's discovery, such as they do when your adult child drinks all your 76ers of rum after they broke into your Lakers cabinet, and now their Pistons broke and they have to hawks all their previous Nets gains. However, we do like to profile good news stories here in the program, such as, say, a young entrepreneur who could successfully sell ticks to timber. Wolves down a big meal and then grabs the mic and DJ and heads out on a worldwide rap tour. Worldwide rap tour. All right, I gotta say, this television gig is hard, but it's not magic. Under the heat of the suns, these mavericks of television, whether kings or queens, always know when to pick up the pacers, and with a pelican-do attitude, finish off the show to thunderous applause. Now, we can't forget, however, on the program, we also love our hairdressing crew. we have a great hairdressing crew in the program. You might not know this, and I must admit I've never experienced any nicks from clippers. Any nicks from clippers. All right. And the great thing about this crew is they only charge a couple of bucks, not gold nuggets, and that's no bowls. To the NBA, to the NBA. And how he's throwing stuff out. Anyways, thanks to all of our guests and hardworking volunteers in front of the camera and behind the scenes, whether you are slamming dunks or not. If you have an event, cause, demonstration, amazing basketball player, more you'd like to bring to the show, we're always looking for great Central Island guests, so do drop us a line. You can find more about this program on Facebook, facebook.com/The Show on Shaw, and you can find previous episodes of the show on our Shaw YouTube page as well. Before we go, though, to wrap up the show, one more song from Tami Nutting, Stand as One. Cheers, and thank you so much for watching.
Gaia's a home for the human race. Please tell me it's not too late. Why are we the ones to seal her fate? The ocean's full of fish are dying. World's full of people crying. Leaves who lead are lying. How long can we keep on denying the world we war for? It's the world we live for. It's the world we die for. We'll soon be no more. The truth is so clear. We can no longer live in fear. We must all do something now. Oh, there'll be nothing left and how. Here we go. Come on, people, raise your voice. Let's all stand together. You know it can be done if we all stand as one. United we stand. Divided we die. Doesn't matter how hard we try. This should matter to you and I. Fish are dying. World's full of people crying. Leaders who lead are lying. How long do we keep on denying? Everybody, come on people, raise your voice. Let's all stand together. You know it can be done if we all stand as one. Stand as one.